how are you doing? What a Canadian Grand Prix we just had. I just watched the Channel 4 highlights, which, by the way, before I get into the race, I want to kind of praise and criticise because there were good points and bad points of the coverage. Direction-wise, I think the actual Formula One directors did very well to keep on top of the action. Obviously, just watching the highlights, I don't know if I missed anything. But to me, it seemed pretty good. Like when there was a battle going on that they were focusing on, and then something else happened, they were very quick to cut to the biggest point of action. And they made use of the split screen, which is very welcome because we know that they've had it as a tool for so long, but they just refuse to use it for some bizarre reason. But yeah, I thought the direction was very good. But actually, continuing on with the positives briefly, Alex Jacques and Jolyon Palmer were on top form. They were bouncing off each other perfectly. They had the perfect balance of being enthusiastic and getting the perfect amount of excitement, largely due to Alex Jacques, and then Jolyon Palmer would come in with the, insights basically and the facts. They made a really good duo. And did very well to stay on top of things in this crazy race. But yeah, just the bad points was just the way the highlights were edited. I don't know if you watch on Sky or the highlights, but Channel 4 have a habit of cutting out large chunks of the opening and middle part of the race so that they can show like the final 15-10 laps more fully. To build up suspense towards the end. Even if there's not something happening towards the end and that there's lots of excitement in the middle of the race, they'll still do that. They'll just stick to that formula no matter what. In this race, it was kind of justified because there were battles towards the end, but with these weather changes, it just seemed to cut to whenever there was a pit stop. It would be raining. There'll be loads of battles going on, really exciting stuff. They'd cut to an ad break. And it would come back and people would be pitting for dries. There would be no transition, there would be no catch up on the battles or anything I might have missed. And I just felt like I was really missing out on potential action, from the live feed. Yeah, and I've noticed that as a trend on the Channel 4 highlights, so I just wanted to mention that. Because yeah, they have a habit of editing really poorly, in my opinion. But for me, Sky is just too expensive. I cannot justify it just to watch F1. Yeah, it's crazy. But anyway, aside from that, I want to talk about this race because what a race we had. It was undoubtedly the best of the season, arguably the best in recent times. In my opinion, it definitely was. Oh yeah, I was completely gripped and on the edge of my seat throughout. It was fantastic. Obviously, from the start of the race, the two Haas cars were carrying the show, especially Magnussen, as he always does. This time for the right reasons, as opposed to getting dangerously close to a race ban. Yeah, he's incredibly lucky how he's even racing this week after Monaco. Yeah, he raced very cleanly. He had the perfect amount of aggression. He dialed it back just enough to get the moves done without having contact. Already he had the major pace advantage on the four wets. But yeah, seeing them come through was absolutely incredible. Seeing Max on the back foot was very surprising. Red Bull had struggled most of the weekend, particularly Perez, who had an absolute shocker. I do not know, even before this race, I do not know why they announced him to have a 2-year contract. That absolutely baffles me. To me, he hasn't done enough to keep his seat, but I could understand why they wanted to maintain the stability. And I think, to be honest, they don't have many other options that I think would be much better than Perez anyway. So I could understand them keeping him on for 1 more year, but 2 years I do not understand. And this race perfectly illustrated that, in my opinion. Like, this isn't the first time he's had weekends like this. Get him knocked out in Q1. It literally happened in Monaco. you know, it's just, and it happened multiple times last season as well. And he just could not get back into the points. Yeah, I'm not sure if he did actually score in the end. He might have got a few points towards the end, but for most of that race, he was about 13th. It was absolutely shocking, and the mistakes that he's making, that crash into the wall. Of course, he was pointless, wasn't he? Because he crashed at the end. Absolute shocker. But yeah, just pace-wise, Max had also struggled. They were not the quickest car this weekend, that's for sure. I think they were very level with McLaren. I think Mercedes were probably level in qualifying, but I think they were also on the back foot during the race. I think McLaren and Red Bull were the quicker race cars. But yeah, we just had amazing battles, to be honest. It's insane in wet weather how many overtakes we actually got, because normally what makes wet weather great is the changeable conditions and the pit stop battles and unpredictability. But this race, we just had really good battles, and you know, they were racing each other. They were sending dive bombs into the hairpins. We were getting, you know, an insane overtake from Alex Albon, by the way, on the main straight into the final chicane, where he was on the outside of Ricardo, I think it was, and then switched it to the inside into the final chicane and just about squeezed through. It was insane margins, but incredibly brave, and I'm so glad he pulled it off, because it was an absolutely golden move. So unlucky that he got wiped out by Sainz at the end, but obviously that wasn't really anyone's fault, because Sainz had no control. Obviously it was his fault that he made the mistake, but yeah, Alex was an innocent bystander now, and it was so unlucky after the race he'd had. Yeah, phenomenal drive from him. Yeah, then we just had the, you know, insane weather with the crazy pit stops. I was absolutely on the edge of my seat. It was a shame that the Haas cars dropped back so soon. We did see it coming, let's be honest, but the slow pit stop did not help Magnussen at all. I think they were pretty much, they were 11th and 12th, weren't they? So that pit stop could have been crucial, I think, in how that race played out for Haas. They very well could have got points, in my opinion. Yeah, just in general, I was on the edge of my seat when Max and Russell came in during the safety car. Russell got released so close to Max, I was on the edge of my seat. It was absolutely gripping. I could not remember a time where I was that enthralled by a pit stop battle, you know. And the way that the pace was just changing between the top three. Sometimes you think Max would be just running away with it, then Norris would overtake Russell and be the quickest car on track, then Piastri would be coming through, so then you think, okay, McLaren have the faster car here, and it just ebbed and flowed, and the conditions kept changing, but they just stayed together on track, and everyone was making mistakes. The top three all had an off at some point. So it wasn't even who could have the cleanest race. I think any of the top five could have won it, if they'd have, just had a mistake-free race, to be honest. The Mercedes battle towards the end was incredible. I'm very surprised that they let them race, to be honest. I thought after Hamilton had got through, I thought they were going to let him try and chase down the McLaren for second place. And then Russell got back through, and at this point they were like 2.5 seconds behind. So I thought, okay, they're going to hold station now and try to get second, but they just kept allowing them to battle. And I don't think that made a difference in the overall result, because I don't think Mercedes had the pace, to be honest, to catch. So yeah, I'm very grateful that they allowed that and that they kept it clean. As a Hamilton fan, it was amazing seeing him coming through the field as well, because I thought there were moments where I thought he'd be on fire, and despite being on the back foot and having less pace than Russell over the weekend, which was a surprise after practice, yeah, it was great seeing him find his form again and have better race pace, because I was a bit worried, to be honest, after qualifying, but he came back through, which was amazing to watch. On the theme of Perez and people trying to keep their drives, Logan Sargent, what a disaster. I think this was possibly the weekend where James Vowles went, you either perform here or you're gone. that's what it looked like, to be honest, the amount of pressure on him. Yeah, I think if this wasn't a crucial race for his career, then I don't think he'd have been making that many mistakes. I think he made a mistake in qualifying, did he not? No, actually, he was quite good in qualifying, wasn't he? I think he got through to Q2, actually. But he made 2 or 3 major errors during the race. The final one being race ending, obviously. Absolute shocker. I know it's tricky conditions, but it's always the same drivers who make the mistakes in these conditions. You know, the Perez, the Sargent, the Joe Guan Yu as well. He had a clean one, but still just had no pace this weekend. But yeah, I think this was the race that ended Sargent's career. I think, at least for the time being. I think if they keep him on after that, it is completely unjustified. To be honest, I'm amazed they kept him on for this season anyway. I thought he was incredibly lucky to still be racing. And I don't think they'll drop him mid-season, to be honest, because I just don't think Williams have that bravery, to be honest. And I think they prefer the stability and just let Albon kind of bring home the points this season, because I don't think a rookie is going to bring home any more points than Sargent is. So I think they're just going to rely on Alex for the rest of the season and get rid of Logan after Abu Dhabi, which, to be honest, I think is hard to argue against it at this point. Yeah, absolute shocker for him. That, yeah, it dried up towards the end and we just continued having amazing battles for the podium with the Mercedes and, yeah, different cars having different pace levels. It was absolutely incredible. Ferrari, by the way, how can I forget about Ferrari? What a shift in tone from Monaco. A win to a DNF for Leclerc. You know, a race-ending mistake from Sainz. What a shocker. They were both out in Q2 for a start, so you were already worried then. At the start of the race, they were making poor strategy calls. They put Leclerc on hards for God knows whatever reason. And then, yeah, they just had no pace. They were still struggling at the tail end of the points, even when the conditions were fairly normal and you thought that the car pace would at least bring them into the top 6. And yeah, Leclerc just kept having bad call after bad call. Yeah, they just ended up retiring, and Sainz obviously made that error towards the end. I think he was already 11th, so it didn't look like he was going to be scoring any points. Yeah, really one to forget for Ferrari. I hope they can bounce back, because it looked like the championship was closing up, and now it's, you know, Max has just got a chasm again in the championship, and it would be really nice for Ferrari to utilise their pace, to be honest, and potentially have, you know, 14 battles for wins. I think the championship is already decided, if I'm honest. But yeah, just exciting races are what we're after. You know, if we can't have a championship battle, and we need Ferrari up there. So I hope they can find their form again soon. And then we just have to talk about Max with his 60th victory. How the hell did he win that race? I'm sorry, but how the hell did he come through? You know, after everything that happened in that race, how did we have the same winner that we've had for the last 3 years? Absolutely insane, but all credit to him. He absolutely deserved it. He kept his composure when it counted. It wasn't mistake-free, but no one had a mistake-free race, so, you know, can't blame him for that. And he just drove the best, to be honest. The fact that he's on 60 wins already, when they said that as he came over the line, I was in shock. I thought, how the hell has he got to that? Like, he's about 16, isn't he? How the hell has he got to 60 wins, you know? Already among the all-time greats. Probably going to threaten Hamilton's century if his heart stays in it long enough. I think he probably only needs a couple more seasons to beat that, if Red Bull keep their car into the new regs. But yeah, credit to him. Full congratulations. He absolutely deserves it. But yeah, I'm just so happy that we had a banger of a race. We've had some good races this season, but nothing that really excited me. Got the blood pumping. I was on the edge of my seat throughout. And this one I think really will be one of the highlights of the season, which I will not be complaining about. I think we deserved it, at round 9 and after Monaco, one of the worst races of all time. I think we can all agree. But yeah, a welcome change of tone. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Please, let's have a discussion. I could ramble about this race forever. Let's talk about it. Other than that, yeah, I hope you're doing well, and I'll speak to you again very soon. Bye bye.